a little longer practice than I anticipated, but we needed to get some things done. And so for the most part, I thought it went pretty well. I think the players are focused in on the task at hand, playing a very talented football team on the road at night. It'll be a great atmosphere, I think. They have a great fan base up there, can get loud. I think offensively, they have one of the better offenses. They got a very talented quarterback. I mean, he can really throw the football. They're very balanced, have some good wide receivers. They run the ball. Defensively, they have athletes in the back end of their defense. They've got a good punt returner. And so all those things are a factor when you go on the road, and I think our guys are starting to tune in on, what it's going to take for us to go up there and try to win a football game. Questions?
Coach, how do you kind of evaluate what Oregon's been through in recent weeks? They started off as one of the leaders in the conference, and now they've kind of had their struggles. How do you evaluate? I
really don't. I worry about us. I don't get involved in trying to evaluate what has happened to other teams. I just look at the tape and evaluate what they're trying to do on offense, defense, and special teams. I'm always concerned about us. It's always about us and about what we want to do. It's never so much about what other teams are going through. There's an ebb and flow in this conference, period. Okay, so I can't study what's happened to them. I'm more worried about us. That's who I coach. I coach us. And I just try to get our players prepared every week to play a talented football team that have same record we have. We're both 6-4 overall, so they're pretty talented.
What improvements have you seen from Manny Wilkins throughout the season? He's played really well in recent weeks.
No, I like his leadership the last couple of weeks down the stretch against some difficult opponents. When you think about it, he goes on the road and beats SC, has a fantastic game, comes back home and plays a top 20 opponent and does a nice job this week. Had a ball that we can look at and interception for a touchdown, but what I like is his ability to come back from that and then take us down on a long drive. That shows the maturity of a good quarterback. And so he's played well. And I've said this, when the quarterback plays well and the runner runs the ball and the keel catches balls, our offense is pretty fun to watch.
Coach, the implications on the line, how has the team's movement? Have they been taking one out of your playbook to kind of stay calm, pull legs and not too high, not too low?
I would hope so. I really would, because that's how I kind of play it. I just think every game's important. We can go all the way back to the first game. They all matter. They all are the same to me. It doesn't, and I think if you get caught up in all that other stuff, people try to build games up, and they're all important because they all count in the win and loss column. And I've always said, when you get done with the one. And I have this mindset every time I walk through that tunnel or any tunnel I walk through when the game's over, I process it. And the time I walk out of the locker room, I'm to the next week. Because there's nothing you can do about that week except correct the errors and say, okay, that's just me. And I think the team is starting to, they say teams take on coaches' personalities. We'll see. I haven't been here long enough for them to really take on my personality. But I think they know my mindset. It was kind of interesting that walking up to the tunnel last week, Kyle Williams was walking with me. And he's smiling, and I'm walking with him, and he says, Coach, he said, how you doing? And then he looked back at me, and he answered his own question. He says, Coach, you're always kind of like that. I know how you're doing. What did I ask that question for? I just smiled at him. I said, okay, yeah. We just walked up the tunnel, and I said, congratulations. And we walked in, and we talked to the football team. So I kind of think these guys understand who I am and what I'm about, whether we win, lose, or tie. They know they're going to get the consistency out of the head coach. I'm going to tell them the things we did well. I'm going to tell them the things we need to correct and get better at. So that's just me. That's just how I operate. So they know it's normal for me how I kind of walk around and go, okay.
What's the sense of McKeel for Saturday?
I would anticipate he's going to play. I mean, he's a little sore, but he's Nikhil. He'll play. He'll practice tomorrow, and he went through the walkthrough today. And at this time of the year, you always feel like there's certain players you just give rest to. I mean, some offensive guys, some defensive guys. They don't take all the reps. That's kind of how we function around here.
And how about the defensive guys that have been injured?
Well, 43 and 28, we'll see where they're at. I mean, they're sore. Participate a little bit in practice. We'll just see where they're at. The trainer will make that decision. Tomorrow he'll let us know if those guys are available. If not, we get to play some more young guys. And that's just the way it works. We don't have anybody else. I can't play. Now, I'm ineligible. They won't let me play anymore. I wouldn't want to play. It hurts when you tackle people when you get older. So
Does Verlin have to be in the locker room in the first half, or can he be on the side?
that's a good question. I don't know that rule. I don't know what happens. That's a good. I don't know. That's the first time. Well, yeah. I don't know. That's a good. I have no idea. But whatever the rule is, we're going to abide by the rule. But whenever he's available, he's going to play. We'll get him on the field as fast as we can. If I have to ride him out there in the cart, whatever, just get on the field, man. Yeah.
Speaking of playing more young people, you reminded us throughout the preseason or throughout the spring when this class gets here to play. Did you ever envision that you would have to lean on your freshmen so much this late in the season?
You don't anticipate that, but that's where it's at, and that's what you deal with. And I think Danny and those guys have done a great job of that. And I think going forward, what you guys will realize, wait till next season starts. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to leave it at that. If I'm just going to leave it at that.
With Nikhil, a guy like Nikhil, does he have to practice before Saturday to play, or?
Yeah. He's going to play. If he's available, he's playing. And hey, look, he'll do something tomorrow. It's the same old deal. It's like, we say this is the pro model, and basically, guys at this point in time are a little bit hurt, nicked up, right? Not injured, but hurt. Who do you rest? Who do you trust? There's a veteran presence here that that, okay, mentally, you're into it in the classroom, in the walkthroughs, you're going through everything, and if you can save their legs and their body, then you do that. And that's just, we take the pads off. I mean, we got 2 sessions with pads on, right? I mean, just that's what you do. I mean, same way at the other level. It's just there comes a point in the season where you don't even wear pads anymore. You cut down your practices. You want players fresh. The thing I learned from Coach Slocum's dad, RC, he visited and he came to Monterey and he came. We played golf and I was picking his brain. And he said the thing that he learned as a coach, a couple things. He said early in the season, he says, the anticipation of the opening day and the weeks prior to that, the week or 2 prior to that, first year he was always had pads on, he was running, he was tackling and doing all that stuff. He said, I found that, my guys weren't fresh. They weren't excited. And then he said, at the end of the season, he said when they got into bowl preparation or that kind of stuff, he said, he could never win a bowl game. And he talked to other coaches and he said, maybe I'm practicing too much and too hard and beating guys up. And he said when he stopped doing that, he started winning bowl games, right? So that's the information I gathered. And I'm like, well, this man knows more college football than I know. But the same mindset's in pro football. See? So it all translates. You better have a fresh team when the season. They got to be hungry to play an opening day. Not like, now we got to wait for practice to finally get to play a game. No. They got to anticipate that. And at the end of the season, they got to be fresh. Now, I've known that because I was a player. And I had a taskmaster as a coach. And loved the man. He calls me once a week, Dick Vermeil, right? He was the taskmaster. I mean, he was like, but I learned from him. And then as he continued to coach in the NFL, he kind of cut back a bit too, knowing that I got to have a fresh football team. So there's this fine line you walk all the time as a coach, trying to make sure your team's fresh.
Coach, last season, Arizona State played Oregon here and then won 37-35. You talked about watching film. Have you checked out that game at all? And if so, what did you gather?
No. We're a little bit different. No. I don't even get into that. I just watch what they've done now. I think that because that's who they are. You always change your personality according to who you are. But there's some certain aspects they continue to do. They're very well coached. They're athletic. But we kind of look at ourselves now, and every year is different. I mean, it just is. You think, well, last year this team did this and that team did that. I mean, you just get into what you are. That's more important.
Coach, obviously talked earlier about a week or two ago about how you've coached great running backs like Curtis Martin, and you coached the Chiefs team that had Larry Johnson and Reese Holmes for a year or two. Just obviously, Benjamin's quite a running back to have your first year at college. And obviously, he's a lot younger and has a lot of ways to go. But what are some ways you see him being able to develop?
Well, he's a student of the game for one, and he's good on first contact. He's very balanced, has great balance, great vision, can make tough yards. Now, he's not the biggest guy, make tough yards, and he's a tough football player. He can run inside, outside. I'd like to get him the ball more catching it, to be quite honest. That takes some hits off the back. When you can get him in space to catch football. It's kind of ironic you mentioned his name. Yesterday, I walk in and I got a message. It's from Earl Campbell. And I played against Earl. I know Earl Campbell. And so I call him back. And we have this conversation. And obviously, he knows from Texas. We know where Earl Campbell's from. And we start talking. And he says, Coach, I like your running back. He says, I like the way you run the football, And we visited for another 30 minutes, but I won't get into everything we talked about. We had a great conversation. We're laughing and talking about good old times. I told him my shoulder still hurts from trying to tackle you, man. And it does. It still hurts. But it was fun to visit with him. You're talking about one of the better running backs to ever play the game and watch the way we attempt to run the ball. He appreciated it, And it's nice to hear from somebody like that that's one of the guys you played against and the guy you've known for a long time, for him to reach out. So that was kind of fun.
Coach, to piggyback off that too, you talked about his ability, to get to the next level, not even right as a running back, but blocking, picking up blitzes.
Yeah.
Talking to Coach Smith, really working with the line, obviously, but at the next level, you talk about, good backs go from good to great with being able to stay in the given block. How is he? Well,
you just mentioned it. In that other league, if you can't block, you can't get me on the field. You're not a 3-down back. You're just not, because you got to pick up protection. And Eno does that. But now he's a different bird now. He's in the building. When they're putting in the runs, he sits in the offensive line room with them. So he understands the concepts of what they're trying to run. He understands the protections. He sits in there with his running back coach, and they know these are the protections, these are the schemes they're running, these are the fire zones or the blitzes. This is where you got to scan, you got to pick up. So he's a student of the game. He's in here like a coach. He's not just coming to practice. He's in here on the off. He's in here like on Tuesday or Monday. In comes Manny and Nikhil, and the runner. They're off. They're in the building. So that's what you want. You want guys that love the building because they want to learn and they know the coaches are putting in the game plan. And that's what happens. That's the environment you want to create. That the players understand. Hey, look, the coaches are putting in the game plan. And I've always told them, if you have something you want, you need to show up and tell the coaches on your own, hey, coach, I'd like to do this. And we're smart enough to make sure we have things in that plan that they like doing. That's probably the most important thing as well.